the compensation and bonus structure that they are paid on is heavily tilted in favor of the men's team. For example, the women's team have to play championships and perform at a world beating level just to keep pace financially in the victory tour they went on after the World Cup. They had to play extra games just to pay for it. The women play more games yearly and must win them to claim their bonuses, requiring them to work harder and perform better just to keep pace. During the 2015 World Cup play, women earned 4 times less than the men while performing demonstratively better. According to a budget report put out from the U.S. Soccer Federation, the women's team is supposed to bring in more than $17 million in revenues, including a $5 million surplus for the next fiscal year. That's nearly doubling the men's team. The U.S. Federation said it isn't because the two teams, and they want the charge to be dropped against them. The women's team only receive a per-game bonus if they win during the 20 games played outside of the competitive games. Men receive a bonus just for playing and a larger bonus for winning. And all the men have to do is show up to the game to get paid. This isn't just about the money, it's also about the message it sends to women and girls across our country and the world. It's also about the equality. They want to play on nicer fields just like the men's team do. When they filed the complaint against the league, they stated they started a campaign called Equal Pay, Equal Play. Now to tell you a little more in depth about the pay differences. I'm going to tell you some more about what the women get paid versus what the men get paid to play soccer. To begin, in 2015, the women's team won the World Cup and did a 10-city victory tour that yielded an 8-figure bump to the U.S. Soccer's bottom line. They brought in $23 million in revenues, that 16 more than the U.S. Soccer Association projected them to bring in. After expenses, women turned to $6.6 million profit. The men brought in only under $2 million. They are paid less in sponsorship appearances, per diem, and game compensation. Now let's talk numbers. So, just for the men to start in the World Cup last year, per player, they got paid $76,000, and the women only got paid $15,000. If they qualified in the World Cup as a team, the men earned $2.5 million, and the women only earned $345,000. Each to reach round 16 as a team, men got $3.6 million, and the women team didn't earn anything. To reach the quarterfinals in the World Cup, the men received $5 million, and the women's team earned $0. The per diem for international is $75 for the men from 2015 to 2018, and the women's team at $60 2013 to present. From 2008 to 2015, the number one paid female player made $1.2 million, and the first top paid player on the male's team made $1.4 million, which isn't a big difference, but the number 25 spot for females was paid $341,000, and the number 25 spot for males was $580,000, which is still low. But how about this? The number 50 spot for males was paid 10 times as much as the female's counterpart. From 2008 to 2015, women earned $53 million, and the men's team earned $144 million. The women's team gets paid on a mixed salary of $72,000 for majority of the players on the teams and $1,350 for each game won, but it doesn't count if they lose a game or tie a game. The men get paid $5,000 just for showing up. They're paid 40% of what the men earned last year and generated $20 million more than the men from the World Cup in 2015. And the women's team has more viewers and more revenues. Enough about pay gaps and reasoning. Now to talk about what is being done about the filed report. Well, now to see how the situation is being handled. But despite all these tremendous successes, these players do not get paid on par with their male counterparts, the senator said. The Senate approved a non-binding resolution calling the U.S. Soccer Federation to immediately end gender pay equality and treat those athletes with the respect and dignity those athletes deserve. The EEOC will take 6 months to investigate, meaning that its resolution might not come until after a new collective bargaining agreement is in place, and the federal agency needs to find out if the federation broke the law. They also agreed that per diem and appearance payments will match the men's in the upcoming year. And if there was a violation, the agency could negotiate a consent agreement or pursue for law enforcement. They urged the federation to stop kicking these women around. Let's review the highlights. Today we talked about the wage gap between the soccer teams. First, we talked why the women's soccer team filed a case against the Federal Soccer Association because of the wage differences. Secondly, we talked about how much the difference the teams make, starting from men taking $144 million and women only taking $53 million. And finally, we talked about the federal agency what the federal agency is doing to take care of the problem, and submitted an act so the soccer federation has to pay them equally. In this day and age, it's about equality. Hope Solo said, it's about equal pay. We're pushing for that. We believe now the time is right because we believe it's our responsibility for women's sports to do whatever it takes to push for equal pay and equal rights and to be treated with respect.